am Mika Leah, the CEO and founder of Goomi Group, and I am so excited to have y'all here with us today. We all know that we've come a long way in how we talk about health and health at work, and we've been working to normalize mental health. But money, that does seem to be a different topic, and I think it's still one that's very taboo. We were just talking about this in our pre-call, Brent and I, and the truth is most of us feel a lot really lost when it comes to finances. I know that I do. And one of my coworkers was like, you know what, instead of being clueless, let's get curious. So I want to encourage you all today to go from feeling like you're clueless to feeling curious and really getting curious with this. So since April is Financial Literacy Month, I thought this was a perfect time to have a conversation around financial and financial wellness. And the reason being is because when employees are stressed about money, because we don't leave our money stress at home when we walk into the door at work. So we bring that financial stress that we have from home and maybe in work life into the meetings, into our focus, into the health at work. And because so much of employees' financial life is tied up into the workplace, their pay, their benefits, their retirement, it really means that employers have a real opportunity to step up and support financial well-being in a meaningful way. So today we are diving in with someone, Brent Hines, who really gets this. And I'm so thrilled to be joined by Brent Hines. He is the executive director of the Foundation for Financial Wellness. Brent is an international speaker and financial well-being expert with over 25 years in the field. Brent is the person we all need in our lives who makes the complicated stuff like financial planning feel approachable and actionable. So, Brent, welcome to the Wellness Exchange, and I am so happy you are here with us.
Thank you very much. That's very nice. I'm not sure who put in the Brent's the person we all need in our lives, but man, I will take it. That feels so nice. I don't know about that. We'll see how these next 30 minutes go.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say you and I have known each other now. It's grown. The years are adding up, and when we first met, your curiosity around financial well-being, you were ahead of the curve. It's the sermon that we preach all the time over here, if you will, that if we really mean both words, financial and wellness, then doesn't financial wellness belong in preventative health and wellness conversations? Of course it does, and that's our belief. We're a little biased, but you were really ahead of the curve, and a lot of people, and we can talk about it in just a moment, that come from the wellness space, which we consider ourselves to have one foot in that camp. There seems to be this hesitation to maybe come over onto the financial side, like we're not qualified, we don't understand the finance. I'm intimidated by it. I'm not licensed for that, et cetera. So I appreciate you doing this and the years of relationship with you, and we keep growing together. It's been a real treat.
Well, I think since meeting you, and it has been several years, I've learned that financial wellness is so much a part of that holistic. So when you and I met years and years ago, it was, for me, I was looking at physical, I was looking at mental, and then you brought in that financial wellness landscape. And I think also, when COVID hit, we looked at it from a social aspect. But
Yeah.
I would love for you to, like, before we get started and we dive into the nitty-gritty and the strategies for the listeners today, I'd love for you to share a bit about your story. So we talked about this on our pre-call, but I want to ask you, what was the moment that made you think that financial wellness is really something that needs to be talked about at work, and maybe a little bit about what sparked your mission?
Um, if I cut to the chase, I would just answer with, because I blew my own life up financially. I've heard a thought leader and speaker in the National Speakers Association, a guy by the name of Rory Vaden, say, "You're best designed to serve the person you once were." So rather than hiding those scars or pretending it didn't happen or putting on a show or a face and outward appearance that all's okay. It wasn't okay. And instead, I thought maybe my life's work is really meant to be maybe preventing people, like my own kids, from making the same mistakes I made. Or if you have made mistakes, which I believe are the vast majority of us, it's not over. And that doesn't define you. And there's a new framework, a new model, a new operating system. We actually call it the financial operating system for that. Short version. I grew up a very poor kid, single mom. We had a terrible relationship with money. She did all that she could. She was mama bear, but she made really bad money decisions. And we just tried to survive. I was the first person in our immediate family to go to college, worked my way through college, created my first business when I was 16, had that entrepreneurial, deviated gene, much like you, Mika, where I wanted to I didn't understand risk reward, obviously. So I went and created my own business and then ran that business throughout college, believe it or not. And I just had a blast doing it. Decided I wanted to get into the business school, got into the lead school of business, University of Colorado, got a degree in finance. So like my view was like, oh, I've broken out of the socioeconomic space and bringing mom with me kind of thing, right? And wanted to make her proud and prove the world wrong. But with that comes this chip on your shoulder of I am going to prove the world wrong, and came out of the gates and unfortunately made way too much money way too fast and made all the stereotypical mistakes that young people make with when they get their hands on money for the first time, real money, if you will. And my life burned to the ground in 2008 when I was trying to leave the firm that I was in. I was fortunate enough to be invited to give a TEDx talk a few years back. It's there if anybody wants to check it out, the full story. And I knew I was picking myself up off the mat, kind of, bloodied and scarred and battered and scared. And I knew that I was really good at teaching in my prior life as a wealth advisor. But I also knew that the vast majority of Americans didn't need a high-end wealth advisor. They needed something to fill the gap. So you have like people who are in dire straits, crisis on one end. The other end, you have people who are, have all the assets and need the wealth management. And I don't mean for this to be offensive. It's meant to be funny, but come to find out, managing money for unappreciative rich white guys isn't all that rewarding. And it's true. Like it's so accurate. It wasn't rewarding. And I wanted to serve that world that I had come from more towards in crisis mode. But the financial services world isn't built for that. They're built for, do you need financial planning? Do you need insurance, or do you have assets that I can manage? So that's where it began. I had roots in the Houston, Texas area. I've lived in Colorado since 1985 when parents divorced. But it was NASA, of all places, that invited us in. They were having big layoffs when they were doing away with the space shuttle program, if you can think back to those days. Right place, right time. They were in crisis. NASA, I raised my hand and said, hey, we're doing these classes built in behavioral economics. It's not just teaching about the X's and O's of money, but it's teaching about like the human side of money. And then we're actually starting to even dabble in the psychology of money, like what makes us make these terrible behavioral decisions, right? Driving us to bad outcomes. So I really, really embrace the methodology. If anyone's familiar, probably in the wellness world, much more than the general population, but of be, do, have. I love be, do, have. I see it everywhere. I saw it in money. So most of all finance goes straight to the have, the X's and O's, the education, right? The 401k, the benefits. But what good is the prescription if you don't take the medicine? So I wanted to spend more time on the behavior and to understand the behavior. What fuels behavior is those 6 inches between our ears, right? And we all grew up with very different scripts, tapes, records, beliefs, and not many of those beliefs are all that healthy for the most part. So a very unique approach. NASA needed it. We show up and deliver it. The lady who ran the wellness program at Johnson Space Center, she's a true wellness pro and clinical background. But she introduced us to the trans-theoretical behavior change model, which was funny at the time because the first time she said it, my eyes rolled back in my head. I'm like, the trans-SAM model? What? Yeah, we do that, I'm sure. So we began it totally shifted everything for us. And this was about in the year 2010. So I'm sorry, Mika, you asked for a simple question. I probably just gave way too long of an answer, but that's where this came from. This weird, you know what I mean? Like schizophrenic history of me and money. And hopefully I'm the right guy, right place, right time with the right message to to change lives. So that's what we're out here trying to do.
I love it. And then when we talk about changing lives, I want to kind of like zoom out for a second and
Sure.
talk about like what approaches to financial wellness are actually working in today's work environments. And we talk about changing lives and the methodology that you were talking about. What are those approaches that you've seen that are actually working, and which strategies have proven ineffective? Like which ones aren't working despite their popularity?
Well, that one, I'll start there because that's the easiest. What's not working is the financial services industry, which I came from. Like I'm a recovering financial advisor, 16 years clean. Like they, they are trying their hardest to harness this term financial wellness. But I'm telling you, I come from that industry. There's so many knuckleheads. They are simply using that as a marketing or branding tool to try to sell more product, and that's not working. So product by itself is not financial wellness. Product should be used as a solution in your total operating system, your financial operating system. Two, what doesn't work? If employers bring in any organization or individual that represents anything that could be viewed as solicitous, endorsements, selling, affiliate agreements, anything like that, like adult learning goes away, meaning they won't comprehend, they won't like apply that. They certainly aren't changing behaviors from someone who's trying to sell them something. And unfortunately, that's been really where employers for decades now have gone to, is they go to, well, the financial professional. It's normally the retirement plan, either 401k or 403b, that kind of thing, and or the other group benefits. And they go, can you come teach our people? And that just wasn't working 30 years ago, and it's still not working today. So what we have come up with, and I know that, this is a very short format for this, but if anybody is a note taker here, we came up with like 6 pillars of what makes an effective employee financial wellness program. One is that you have an agreed upon methodology. So methodology that you follow. We use Be Do Have, right? The psychology, the behavior. It's got to be non-solicitous, and it's got to be comprehensive. Number two, a simple framework or system. So because people need it needs to be simple. It's not going to be easy. Like give them something memorable that introduces a common language. When you see like in the proverbial break room or kitchen water cooler conversation, right? When people are speaking to one another, their colleagues about, hey, did you do that financial wellness thing? Like, how far are you in that model, right? And they're using terminology. That's so cool. It's measurable and it's memorable. We use the financial operating system. That's our framework. Number three, what is your education platform? Are you going to do remote and work site? Are you going to pay attention to multi-modality learning? Is there any way to make the online interactive? Number four, include some kind of one-on-one counseling or coaching. We have embraced the terminology counseling to be our version of an intervention, where coaching is ongoing reinforcement with accountability. Five would be communication. You can't just, if anybody's worked in the corporate space, you just put something, it could be the best thing ever. You just set it out there. It's going to get picked at best, right? Just here and there. So a robust, if we can tailor it per employer, per member. We do that through assessments. They're HIPAA compliant, but they come in and we build a profile kind of under the hood as to who they are by demographics and their needs and wants and fears, desires, that kind of thing that they tell us in the assessment. And it's anonymous. And then that tells us how to communicate with them. So if you can, tailor it by person, not just one big mass email. And then number six, get crystal clear before we start on what are the key metrics. How will we know if this is working 6, 9, 12 months from now? Again, sorry, a long-winded answer, but those are our 6 pillars, Mika, if that helps.
No, that's awesome. And I love how intertwined that is with the beliefs and the values that Gumi has, which is, having I love what you said about having the framework that is memorable and measurable.
Mm.
And I think that that is so key. Also the multimodality learning. Everybody learns in different ways. And so having something that offers. And then the communications is key. having the right communication strategy around how are you going to get this out? How are you going to get this to multiple people? And just, yeah, tailoring that by person is amazing. So I really think that there's a lot there. And if for all of those listeners, I think those key components are really necessary, and we'll work to summarize that. And actually, I'm going to post it. I was taking lots of notes while you were talking because I think that was
Cool.
great. So the impact of financial wellness, a lot of people here are in the health and benefits space, and that's
Okay.
who's here. And so we know that stress doesn't clock out when people clock in, right? And especially money stress. So, can you give us some real world examples of how financial stress shows up at work? And what is that? And maybe we were talking about the measurable and memorable. So, maybe sharing some metrics that can help quantify just how much it's costing businesses. And I think that that's an important note.
Yeah, for sure. I've got some fresh stats here. We're always updating, as you can imagine. We've got a plethora of numbers here on hand, so forgive me if I cheat a bit. Um, I'm fortunate to do a lot of speaking from stage at events, conferences, that kind of thing. And I have an entire 1 hour keynote on around, I love frameworks if you can't tell, around the framework of employees are stressed. The number one stressor of employees are their personal finances. Financially stressed employees are expensive. That's it. Like that's a 3-part framework. And that I hate for that. I hope that doesn't sound too cold. Like, well, these are expensive, cogs in the wheel. We have to make them more productive. Like, no, they're human beings. I'm sure your audience probably buys into that more than some of the audiences that we speak to. But let's start with that first one. Employees are stressed. 60% of full-time American employees, 60% are stressed about their money. So over half of us are coming to work stressed. Somewhere just under 50%, the latest number was 46 from our studies with PricewaterhouseCoopers. 46% of households don't have 3 months of emergency cash reserve available if something should happen, right? That's the old rule of thumb of 3 months of must pay expenses. Almost half of us don't have that. And around 1 in 3 of us, of American workers, have some kind of active credit collection going on, like an active credit collection in a file. So, like, you're if you go to an office, look to your left, look to your right, one of the 3 of you is getting those, you know, bill collector phone calls throughout the day. That's how I grew up, seeing my mom go through that. Like, there's no way. I mean, the productivity, the health outcomes from that, right? It's real. Health outcomes specifically. Right now, from the American Institute of Stress, job stress, across the board, depending upon the study, somewhere between 70 to 90% of all doctor's visits are related to stress, financial being the number one leader of those stressors. And get this, and I'll stop reading off these stats because I know this probably doesn't play well in a webinar. Employees who have high stress levels due to debt have 2 times greater chance of heart attack. Stress is killing us. Financial stress is the number one cause of our stress. Can somebody please stop selling financial product and put your arms around people? Just over a quarter of us, this is the last one, I promise. Just over a quarter of us have admitted to skipping doctor's visits because we can't afford the copay. So we have a health need. We need to go see a professional, and the reason we're choosing not to do it is because we don't have enough money when we check in at the front desk, right? Like, this is the United States in 2025, and we're still this is where we're still at. So it's very, very expensive. Now, how that trickles down, Mika, you asked. There's 4 primary costs of employee financial stress: healthcare costs, productivity, turnover, and then absenteeism. There's a few ways to measure absenteeism, but it is real and it is tangible, and we measure those all of the time. And if we have time at the end here, I can read off a few more stats as like the top 4 like costs of financial stress
Yeah.
to the employer. Happy to go there if we have time at the end here.
Yeah, I think I want to get to like the business case piece of it. And so a lot of companies still see like the stats are awesome. And I think that that obviously shows that people are stressed. Financial stress is obviously the top, and it can
Yeah,
result in the absenteeism, the productivity, all of that that are we're seeing on high level. And I think a lot of companies, though, still see financial wellness as a nice to have. Now, we've seen an uptick in the last, I would say in the last year or so. We've seen this uptick in people saying, no, we want something in financial health. This is a pillar that we want to do.
yeah.
But it's something to explore, it seems, that when they have the extra budget, if you will. But what's the actual business case for investing in it? And what kind of impact or ROI are you seeing? Is there any case study that you can talk about that a company that you've worked with that has seen the impact and the ROI when the company gets it right by investing in financial wellness?
Yeah, yes. We've been doing this since 2010. And to see the impact, in some ways, like when you look across all demographics, we go to a roofing company or like an electrical contractor, and then we go to a law firm or a doctor's office, and you can see that they have like financial stress doesn't discriminate. Like in all impacts of life, wherever you may be, age or stage of life, financial stress is impacting almost literally everyone across the board, the incoming new hire to the retiring CEO. It's just like a different flavor of stress. So,
Yeah.
in one sense, it's amazing how we see it impact nearly everyone up and down the spectrum. And like the other side of that same point is there are commonalities. Even though it's different flavors, there's this commonality of what stress is doing to the human being, the financial stress is doing to that human being. I think like my favorite story, we actually helped one CEO retire 5 years earlier than he thought he was going to when he brought in our program for his people. And he happened to sit in the back just to see what this was all about. And then he asked for a one-on-one counseling. Like he really wanted to make sure this is private, right? No one knows I'm doing this. But we got him. We had him. He was able to retire 5 years earlier, and what triggered it was our financial wellness program. But my favorite story, it was actually an electrical contractor here in the Denver area, and it was the receptionist and this very sweet young lady, and she wouldn't. We did a 1 year program, and she wouldn't miss a class, wouldn't miss a worksheet, a handout, homework. Like she was serious, and we didn't really know. Like I said, what? Wow, what? This is great. Like she's so. I wish I would have been that focused at her age. Her reason, her why, and we didn't learn until later. She mailed me a letter, like pen and paper letter. For anybody out there that doesn't know what that is, we used to write these things, letters on pieces of paper, and mail them to one another. She wrote a letter, handwritten. It was so personal, and explained that her and her boyfriend of however many years were struggling with money, each of them, and they were scared to get engaged because of money. Money stress was preventing them, from her words, starting their life together.
Mm,
And they both were debt free in 1 year because they did the work. They were both debt free and got engaged. And then she ended her letter with, You guys changed my life."
I love
You
it.
kidding?
Okay,
You
so
kidding me? Yeah.
that is amazing. And I think that's such a lovely story to like wrap it all up on. This has been so insightful, Brent. But before we move into Q&A, what is one last, because we have a few, like we have 4 more minutes to go. So what
Yeah.
is one last takeaway you want to leave us with? Something HR and benefit leaders can act on right now to start making a real difference.
So leadership, HR, or somebody in charge of, and or in charge of benefits, my takeaway for you, I would hope you would leave and begin challenging your thinking or the default scripts around financial wellness. Like that's really what we're trying to do. Kind of rattle cages or be a pebble in the shoe that financial wellness isn't a nice to have. And oh wow, this has been here all along. We just didn't know how to root it out. So like a change in thinking, number one. Number two, anybody that out there that might be in the benefits, like in consulting or brokerage, we would challenge your thinking. Like financial wellness shouldn't be in competition with you. And you don't have to be the financial wellness expert. And we always joke when we get introduced to a new employer and we ask to meet the benefits broker to go, hey, we come in peace. Like we're not trying to steal business from you. We're actually trying to optimize your benefits utilization. That's a success metric, right? And lastly, for all parties involved, there is ROI. I can share it with you afterwards, Mika, around productivity loss due to financial stress, healthcare savings, reduction in turnover, and improved employee satisfaction. We're talking like thousands and thousands of dollars, like $5,000 to $10,000 per employee per year, due specifically to financial wellness. So, like, boy, this should be a layup for all of us that are interested in this to get this like mitigated.
Yeah, and I want to just call out that one of the things that I've loved working with you is that it's agnostic, right? We don't, you're not selling that solicitation piece. The behavior change doesn't come from like solicitation or trying to sell somebody something. It really comes from getting to the person's why and making it personal. And so what
Yeah.
I've loved about working together with you in the Financial Wellness Institute is that you what works so well is we can go into clients and say, this is agnostic. This works great. You've got Fidelity, you've got Charles Schwab, you've got Vanguard. Let them give their seminars and do their thing. And then we can come in and layer on this educational piece and this financial wellness educational either seminar, presentation, or series of classes that are agnostic that can lay on to whatever the person has and whatever stage they're at. And it layers on that personal piece and that we play well in the sandbox together. I think you and I have been playing well in the sandbox together. And we also play well in the sandbox with the Fidelities and the Vanguards and the Charles Schwabs of the world. So I think that's great. So we are almost at time. So I'm just going to read. You know what? I think we'll have to close this. I think this was so helpful. Please let us know if you have any questions. I just want to thank you all for joining the episode. I want to be really respectful of everybody's time, so we're going to close it on time. I know we didn't take any questions, but if you do have questions, I know that Erica is putting all of the information into the chat. So I just want to say thank you for joining this episode. Please reach out to us directly. And if you would like to learn more about the Foundation for Financial Wellness from Brent, or just Goomi Group's wellness offerings that we offer in tandem with Brent and his team, just head to our website. So foundationforfinancialwellness.org and goomigroup.com. So thank you again for all being here. And until next time, take care and be well. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.